What is an independent medical examination? What is an IME in your workers' compensation case? And do you need to attend them? What happens if you refuse? So an independent medical examination, don't let the name fool you, it is not independent. It is a medical examination which is performed by the insurance company's doctor, a doctor of their choosing, to get an objective assessment of your injury and your claim. It's a way for the insurance company to check up on you and your condition and your injuries and your disabilities from a doctor that's not your treating doctor. Insurance company doctors could be asked questions about causal relationship. Does the doctor feel as though the injury that you present to him is causally related to the accident that you reported? They can examine you for diagnosis. Your treating doctor might say you have a torn meniscus in your knee. They could turn around and say, no, it's a sprained knee. They might ask questions about degree of disability. Your doctor says you're 100% totally disabled from all work. They want to have you examined by their doctor to see what he says about your level of disability. So the insurance company can send you to see a doctor for a lot of different reasons. That doctor will review whatever medical documentation the insurance company provides to them. They'll usually perform a physical examination and they'll do whatever else the insurance company asks them to do. And sometimes we try to use that to our advantage. Hey doc, what else did they ask you to do? Or what other instructions did they give you? I try to display in cases where they're using that IME against you and trying to downplay your injury. I try to use that against them to show that they're being instructed a great deal of the time and they don't have the opportunity to perform just an open-ended exam. So the other question here is, what happens if you refuse? What if you don't attend an IME? If you don't attend your examinations, the insurance company will most certainly use that against you. They will suspend your awards. If your awards are running based upon a judge's decision, they will request a hearing. And more often than not, if you walk in there and the judge sees that you missed 2, 3, 4 IMEs in a row with no explanation, if the addresses were correct, if everything was in order and you just didn't go, most likely the judge is going to suspend your awards and say, go attend this next IME and then we'll talk about awards when you get back. So you should keep your IME appointments. If you're hurt, if it's a bad day and you really can't get out of bed, if you have the flu, if you have COVID, you can reschedule. There's a phone number on the front of every IME 5 is the name of the form that's your appointment letter. Call them, tell them, I'm sick today, I can't make it. Whatever your reason is, as long as it's reasonable and you don't abuse it, you can reschedule. Call your lawyer, have your lawyer do it, get involved. But you should attend if you need to reschedule every now and again. It shouldn't be a problem as long as you're being reasonable. Why do injured workers need to be careful with independent medical examinations, and how can IMEs be used to hurt your workers' compensation case? So like we said, independent medical examinations are often conducted by doctors who are selected by and paid by the insurance company, and therein oftentimes might lie an inherent bias. Now, there are very good doctors out there that perform IMEs. Just because you have an IME doesn't automatically mean the doctor's there to nail you and put it into your case. But like I was saying, there might be an inherent bias. These doctors might be inclined to minimize the extent of your injuries. They might be inclined to minimize the need for certain treatments. They might be inclined to minimize the degree of your permanent disability. They might be inclined to do things in favor of the insurance company. So the findings of your IME doctor and his report can significantly impact your workers' compensation claim. They can impact your financial benefits. They can impact your medical benefits. They can reduce the treatment that you're getting and the money that you're getting. So all that needs to be kept at the forefront of your mind when you're moving forward. So things you need to keep in mind: fraud, fraud, fraud. Insurance companies will use the IME to uncover fraud. If you fail to disclose a prior significant medical event, prior significant medical history, an old accident, an old workers' compensation claim, an old injury, an old disability, something that's related, if you fail to disclose it to their doctor and it comes out, they're going to try to use it against you. So make sure when you talk to the IME doctor, make sure when you're filling out his forms that you disclose any and all old, significant, related medical conditions. This way you are protected. This way you covered yourself. You got out in front of this fraud allegation before they can raise it. Listen, I know you feel like you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by telling the doctor, yeah, I did hurt my shoulder playing basketball in 1985, and you think he's going to use that against you, and he probably is, but the impact on you is far less significant than if you don't tell them and they find out, because then they're going to just raise fraud and blow you out of the water, and you don't want that to happen. Another thing that they look for is suboptimal effort, and malingering is a term that doctors use. It means you're faking. If the doctor says that you're a malingerer, it means you're faking. Oh, I can only lift my arm this high. Yeah, if he thinks you're full of it, he's going to put that down. He's going to say you're malingering. There's a lot of different ways that they put it. So be very careful here. Give the insurance company doctor and your doctor 100% effort. Do the best you can, and I will deal with doctors who put down that you're giving suboptimal effort. Is it okay to have someone with me to witness my IME appointment to record? Yes, it's okay. Clients bring people all the time. I suggest it, I recommend it, it can't hurt, all those good things. Is it okay to record the appointment for accountability? Yes. It's okay to record your appointments. If you feel more comfortable recording your appointment, go for it. I've had recordings come back showing that the exam was completely different from the report, and we used it and we were very successful. Here's the thing with recording your IME. You have to give advance notice. When you get that IME 5, that notice of your IME appointment in the mail, it'll say on there, if you plan on recording this, you must let us know. That's the rules, that's the law, that's what you got to do. If you want to record it, let them know in advance. Let your lawyer know that you're planning on doing it. It does sometimes make things a little contentious. The doctors will deal at more of an arm's length when they're conducting that exam, knowing they're being recorded. But yes, it does promote accountability, and I do like that. If you want to record, go for it. When during your workers' compensation case will the insurance company schedule an IME, and will they often schedule you for more than one? An IME can be scheduled at any time during your case, and the insurance company can do them whenever they want, as often as they want within reason. They're not going to go overboard here. They're not going to schedule one a week or one a month because they have to pay for them. They have to pay for the IME, the doctor, the vendor to do their work, and if it comes down to a deposition, they got to pay the doctor again to do a deposition. They get expensive over time, but they can do them whenever they want. And some insurance companies, in some circumstances, do them pretty frequently, just to kind of keep tabs on you as your case progresses. Rex, the WCB kept sending me to the same doctor for an IME, and every time it would be the same outcome, unfavorable. Personally, I think it's unfair. What are my thoughts? So if you go to Dr. Smith, because he's the best doctor for a knee injury, and you get all your treatment, and he gives you the best surgery, and you're very happy with the outcome, you are not allowed, technically, generally, to turn around and go to Dr. Jones, because you know he gives very high ratings and gets people a lot of money. You can't doctor shop for permanency results. And essentially what an insurance company is doing here to a great degree is doctor shopping. They're picking and choosing the doctor that they want you to see that's going to be a little more to their side, a little more beneficial for them. And you know something, if they keep sending you back to see the same doctor and he's being unreasonable and making conclusions that are unfavorable, you know, as much as it hurts, it also kind of helps, because if that doctor's being unreasonable, we could use his conclusions and the things he's done that are unreasonable in that exam and in that report against him when it's time to take his testimony and show how unreasonable he was. So keep the appointment, go see the doctor, go through the motions, and let your lawyer take care of it. What can you do to prepare for an IME, and how can you protect yourself from the IME being used against you? So the insurance company is required to give you 7 business days notice before your exam. They can't just call you up and say, tomorrow you got to go to your appointment. What you should do, you have time to prepare, talk to your doctor and talk to your lawyer. Talk to them both about the purpose of the examination. Expectations are always blown out of the water at your first examination. People constantly will say, I thought I was going to a doctor's office, and I went and there was a waiting room with 5 chairs and 35 people. People were climbing on top of each other. There was a million people in there, and they were just bringing people in, bringing people out. When they finally brought me in, the doctor walked in, he asked me 2 questions. Next thing I know, it was over. I was there for 5 minutes. It happens all the time, which is why it's important for you to take notes, because if they are being less than truthful as to the start and stop having the exam, I want to know what you have to say about it. So if you were in there for 5 minutes and the doctor lists 10, I can get into that with him. I want to know what time the exam was scheduled for. Tell me what time you got there. Tell me what time you walked into the examination room. Tell me what time you walked out of the examination room. I want to know all that stuff, because it's all useful in pursuing your benefits. If you want to give me a call, you or anybody, my phone number here, folks, 212-406-8989. I'm always happy to help. How should injured workers conduct themselves during an IME, and what mistakes should they avoid? First of all, you got the basics. Show up on time, be polite, don't go in there with a bad attitude, because if you give the doctor a tough time, if you do anything negative, you can almost guarantee you're going to get a bad report. Be polite. It's very simple. They're people too. They're doing their job. Get there on time. Don't show up late. Cooperate with the doctors. If he asks you a question, answer only the question, but answer the best you can. Don't give a whole long answer. Don't give a different answer. If you don't know, you don't know. You could say yes, you could say no, you could say I don't know. Any of those answers are acceptable. Give the history of the accident. Give it a good detailed history, but don't go crazy. You don't have to give them your whole life story. Make sure the doctor is taking notes, writing down the answers that you're giving him, because you want those answers to make it into your report, especially when it comes to things like past medical history, old accidents and injuries, old compensation claims, old disabilities. You want to make sure that things you're telling him make it into his report so you don't get accused of fraud. If they do give you a questionnaire to fill out, write it down on there. If they don't ask you on that form about past medical history, history about old accidents and old injuries. There's nothing wrong with it at the bottom saying, by the way, I fell down the stairs when I was 18 and I broke my leg. I just wanted you to know. And make sure when you're taking your notes that you put that in your notes. This way, we are prepared when it comes time to move forward if it does become an issue. Tell the doctor what does and what does not cause pain. Don't do anything that's going to make you uncomfortable. If the doctor's putting you through range of motion of your shoulder and you reach where it hurts, you can say, Doc, it hurts. I'm done. But make sure it's all out there. You don't want to be accused of malingering, like I said before, less than optimal effort. Make sure everything you've been saying to the insurance company doctors have been consistent. Make sure the histories are all the same. They're going to use stuff against you the best they can. They're here to save themselves money. So if they can use inconsistent histories, they will. Do you think they will put surveillance on you before and after the IME? Yes. Something to be mindful of. Certainly not every case, certainly not every IME, but I'd say the majority of cases where there is surveillance, where they've been conducting surveillance on an injured worker, the vast majority of those cases, when we get the surveillance videos, contain surveillance of the person coming and going from that IME and their conduct before and after the IME on that same day. So what does that mean? They'll have video of the person leaving their house and skipping down the sidewalk and running with their kid to school and picking them up and giving them a big hug and a kiss, and then half an hour later the surveillance will show them limping into the IME office with a cane and a neck brace on. Well, that doesn't look so good. And then it'll show them limping out of the office an hour later with their cane, and then it'll show them 2 hours after that carrying shopping bags out of the supermarket. So that is one time when they do use it. Why? Because they have video of you before, video of you right before, right after, and then for the rest of the day, and they can compare all of your behaviors and your conduct on video to what the IME doctor has gotten from you and what he's reporting. So it is a prime time for surveillance. Be careful. What should you do if you think your IME was inaccurate or biased? Is there a way to fight back? When you get that IME examination report in the mail, what I tell any of my clients that have a problem with it, make a photocopy of it. This way you have one copy of that report, which is untouched. Go through your notes. Go back to your memory of the exam. Take notes. If the doctor says he did XYZ test and he didn't do XYZ test, make a note. If he says that you had no difficulty getting on and off the examination table and you needed help in a step stool getting on the examination table, make a note. Make notes of everything that was relevant and give it to your lawyer and discuss it with your lawyer so they're prepared to move forward. Like I said, I enjoy going through their reports and comparing everything and your medical reports and what your doctors had to say and the IMEs and the diagnostic tests, and I like doing that, and I do such a better job, and I go even further when I have your notes because you were there in the room and I know what your perspective was on it, and I can use your information to go after the doctor that did you wrong. Folks, thank you so much for your time. Anybody has any questions, we're here to help. 212-406-8989. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you very much.